Parshas Mishpatim, Shabbos, Parsha Shekalim, unbelievable. We are already here at the Daled Parshiyos, 2 before Purim, 2 after Purim, and before you turn around, we're at Pesach. I don't mean to alarm anybody about the Pesach cleaning or the preparations for Pesach, but just an observation of how quickly the Parshiyos run by and how quickly the weeks run by. And we're happy to be back here at our headquarters, Bikuch Cholim of Lakewood, New Jersey, world headquarters of Bikuch Cholim here. And it's good to be back, although we would have liked to stay in Eretz Yisrael and stay there permanently. But if we have to be back, this is a good place to be. And it's very interesting Gemara. Nesivos Shalom brings Masechta Baba Kama, Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. And in this week's Parsha, we discuss, the Torah sort of switches gears from what we've been accustomed to over the past few months when we discussed the Avos, Mitzrayim, Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Kriyas Yamsuf, Aseres HaDibros, Matan Torah. Now we get into a little more of the nitty-gritty. We get into many different laws in this week's Parsha. And the laws, many of them speak about damaging other people, what people have to pay, when you're chayav to pay, different types of damages. And the Gemara Masechta Baba Kama Daf Lamed Amud Aleph tells us, Omer Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says like this, very interesting memra. Hayman deboi lemeve chasida. Somebody who wants to be a chassid. Now we don't mean a chassid as in the garb that you wear. A person who wants to really be a chassid. So what should he do? You want to be a chassid? Lekayim mili dinizakin. You want to be a chassid? You want to be a person who's inside, who's really an ish chesed, a person who's really good inside. Be mekayim mili dinizakin. And we're going to explain, we're going to elaborate on what that means. That's one mandi Amar. Rava Amar. Rava says that if somebody wants to be a chassid, mili de avos. A person should be mekayim that which is written in Pirkei Avos. We know Pirkei Avos is full of different midos, different ways of life. So Rava says you want to be a chassid, be mekayim Pirkei Avos. The Amrila, and there's one more mandi Amar. The Amrila mili de brachos. That a person should be careful with brachos. You should be careful. Now we're learning the Daf Yomi now. We're learning all about the different brachos. A person should be mekayim the brachos. Make sure you know what you're doing when you're making brachos, when you're eating food, different types of brachos that there are. So Nesivos Shalom elaborates on this, and he asks, it's very understandable that somebody who wants to be, someone who strives to be mekayim the ways of avos, the person who's mekayim Pirkei Avos, or the other man, the Amar, who says that a person who's mekayim the halachos of the brachos, I would understand very well that such a person who's proficient at that, who is good at that, that person I could call a chassid. That person is being mekayim mili the chasidus. But what does the Gemara mean that someone who wants to be a chassid, he should be mekayim mili dinizakin? A person's mekayim about the halachas of damages becomes a chassid? What do you mean? It's a din. It's a halacha that you're chayav to pay. If you damage somebody, the halacha says that you must pay the damages. Why is a person considered a chassid, an outstanding ish chesed, some kind of exemplary type of person, if you're mekayim mili dinizakin? What does the Gemara mean? So Nesivos Shalom tells us that we can really explain this by analyzing the roots of the Mishnah about damages in Masechta Baba Kama. Anybody who went to yeshiva, anybody who went to shir in yeshiva knows that when you learn Baba Kama, the Mishnah tells us that there are 4 arba avos nezikin. There are 4 main categories of damages. And what are they called? There's shor, there's bar, there's maveh, and there's hever. And really, Chazal have a lot of different explanations about what these are, but the Nesivos Shalom tells us that these 4 damages, really what they can represent to a person also, is the 4 damages that the Yetzer Hara can do to a person. Shor represents Geius. A shor represents the most haughty of all animals is the ox, is a shor. And that is, as the Medrash tells us in Shemois Rabbah Chav Gimel, about a shor, that a shor is the most haughty of all the animals. And that's the Yetzer Hara of Gaiva. Bor, the next damage of the Mishnah, Bor represents another type of Yetzer Hara that there is. And that's the Yetzer Hara of Bor, we know means falling in. And the Yetzer Hara of falling in is the Yetzer Hara of Yish, where the Yetzer Hara wants you to feel, chas v'shalom, that you're totally lost. And that is a very, very bad Yetzer Hara, says in Nesivos Shalom, because once the Yetzer Hara convinces you that you're a nothing, that you're lost, then a person's liable to do anything. And that's another way of the Yetzer Hara. Maveh, the next one of the Mishnah, is Shein. Shein represents eating, and that's the taiva for Achila. That's a different type of Yetzer Hara. And the final one is Hever, which we know is Eish. That is the Eish, the burning desire of the Yetzer Hara. That's the Yetzer Hara that comes to a person with different types of taivas. So now, one who wants to be a chassid, says in the Nesivos Shalom, it says to be Mekayim Mili Dinizokin, that a person should be Mekayim to work, to uproot all these 4 types of a Yetzer Hara that come to a person. These type of Yetzer Hara that is found in each and every person. A person that wants to be Laheve Chasida, he wants to be a chassid, he wants to be an exceptional person, that person should look L'kayim Mili Dinizakin, understand the Yetzer Hara, and understand the 4 different ways that the Yetzer Hara comes to a person. In order to battle, you need to know what you're dealing with. And the Nesivos Shalom tells us the very interesting thing about the word chassid. You know, we were discussing what a chassid means. The Gemara says, such an amazing thing for someone to be a chassid. What is a chassid? And he says that chassid taka comes from the word chesed, where the person becomes an ish chesed, and the very essence of the person becomes chesed. You have someone who is a person of toiv v'chesed. And we know it's not just that you do deeds of chesed. You become a person that through and through you're an ish chesed. So the Gemara tells us here, in our Gemara, Hai man de boy lemeve chasida. One who wants to be a chassid, it doesn't say that a person who wants to do mitzvahs, umasim toivim. But it says a person who wants to be a chassid, which is more than just doing mitzvahs umasim toivim. You need to know this person, he wants to be such a person where his roots are totally good. Where through this you're now going to be mekayim. You want to be that type of person. So there are 3 opinions in the Gemara about how to go about this. The Maharal tells us that there are 3 components that actually make a person into a complete person. A person wants to be a complete person. You want to be a shalom. You want to have shlemus. The Maharal tells us there are 3 categories that a person has to work on. And what is that? The 3 categories are, there is Shalom beinoy levein boiroi. A person should be whole, should be complete between himself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's also Shalom beinoy levein chaveiroi. You should be Shalom, whole between you and your fellow man. And then there's another one of Shalom beinoy levein atzmai. A person who wants to be whole has to be whole in 3 ways: between you and God, between you and your friends, and between you and yourself. And that is called the Tachlis HaShlemus, one who's complete in all those ways. So Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara says that Lekayim Mili Dinizokin, Rabbi Yehuda is talking about the 3 categories that we said, the 3 things, Nizokin, Avos, Prekei Avos, and Brachas. These 3 things are on these three categories that the Maral mentioned. And lekayim mili din nizakin, to be mekayim the halachos of nizakin, the third one, the one that we said, Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara, that is the category of the Maral of Shalom im Chaveirav. And the Maral says very interesting. Nesivos Shalom explains, he says, when a person is whole and at whole with his friends and with your fellow man, we're not talking about a person who's a chassid that whatever you damage, you're going to pay. We're not talking about that. Because that, like we said, that's really halacha. That's not chasidus. Now we're talking about someone who wants to be exceptional. Chasidus means, a person being whole with your fellow man means that you think about it before you're going to damage somebody. Once you do it, having to pay, that's not called a person who's exceptional. But a person who's always thinking never to damage someone else, never to cause another human being, never to cause your friend pain, not afterwards where you apologize, but to think about it beforehand. Being a chassid in mili dinizakin means watching other people's money, watching other people's feelings, watching your speech toward other people. That makes a person shalom im chaveirav. That's what the Maral is talking about a person being whole. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda says, Haiman de boy lemeve chasida, someone who wants to be a chassid, that is, he should be shalom im chaveirav. He should be mekayim mili dinizakin, to think about things before you do them, to think about things before they come out of your mouth, to think about things before you hurt someone else. And the other, just to mention quickly, the other opinions of the Gemara of Mili of Pirkei Avos, that shalom beinoi levein atzmoi, because we know Pirkei Avos talks about different midos, even not damaging another person. It talks about like hakina, hatayva, v'akavod, moitziin es ha'adam min ha'olam, things that you have to be mekayim, even though you're not hurting anybody else. If you're a jealous person, unless you carry something out, if you're a person who has kina, and it's moitziin es ha'adam min ha'olam, that's something shalom beinoi levein atzmoi. Those are the things that you have to work on for yourself. That takes you out. It takes you out of the olam haruchni. And the third category was, we said mili de brachos, which is the other category, the last one of the Maral, is shalom beinoi levein boiroi. A person that's whole. When a person is like we said, we learned in the Daf Yomi for a couple of weeks now. When you really know what to do with brachos, it means that you're conscious and you're conscientious about how to thank Hashem for every little thing that comes your way, and everything, and to understand and to realize that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So these are the three chelkei hashlemas as brought in the Maral. And really, so what do we need to come out? We need to come out from this week's parsha. This week's parsha, we speak about damages, and this week's parsha speaks about the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, that if you want to be a chassid, you have to think about mili dinizakin. And the lesson that we need to learn is to be careful to not even come close to hurting someone else, to not come close to damage them. We all know that sometimes when you just give things a little more thought, when you think about them before they come out of your mouth, when you think about your actions before you do it, you save so much agmas nefesh. You save so much aggravation. You save the need to go running after people and apologizing. You save the need to run after people, Erev Yom Kippur, please, you know what I did, you know that, you would have just thought about it. So, Haiman, the boy, lemeve chasida, you want to be a chassid, you want to be a person who's exceptionally good, who's an ish toiv v'chesed, who's a person who's an ish chesed, be mekayim mili dinizakin. Think about it, be whole between you and your friends. Think about things before you do it. And hopefully it'll save you a lot of aggravation. It'll save you a lot of time. That is the lesson to be learned from the laws of Nizakin in this week's parsha.